It's certainly not been my intention to reference in many instances, past and future, just how much I love Apocalyptica and yet seemingly ignore their more recent offerings. In fact, I've had about 5 of their songs in total lined up to consult with you as first-time listeners on this channel. It's just, I don't know, I think they may have gotten a bit lost in regards to the number of tracks I've collected on my phone that I have yet to cover. I've got many groups I'm considering, but Apocalyptica's been there. And I've been meaning to get around to them, I just haven't yet until today, starting down the rabbit hole that I took a couple years ago with their music, and I should say continuing that on. Maybe some of you have heard the name Apocalyptica, but you've not engaged with it. Maybe your story's like mine, or it will be, though I'm perhaps advanced you a bit in years, though I'm sure for many of you I still am a bit inferior in my placement of approach, because I came onto their music in about 2020 with 7th Symphony for some of the collaborations on there, those being specifically Not Strong Enough with Brent Smith of Shinedown and Broken Pieces with Lacey Strum of Flyleaf. Both of those groups I absolutely love. And that's what brought me in. I'm like, okay, Apocalyptica, I heard the name before, and they were on those songs. Let me consult them. And immediately, I fell in love, partly because I'm a metalhead, obviously, and I've been for a number of years, but they were one of the foundational groups that brought me in, I think, to such an extent of where I'm at today with European metal, and specifically the more symphonic line. I'm a big fan of symphonic metal, and the instrumental ballads for what Apocalyptica has produced over the years, especially with the violins, and I've embraced them a lot. And I've heard many of their tracks. I mean, all of them are still making my way around some of their older works. But many of the collaborations I've listened to and I've loved, with like Adam Gontier or Corey Taylor's I'm Not Jesus. I love that one. There's so many good pieces that I could recommend that if you have yet to consult Apocalyptica, go in their back library, enjoy a bunch of their pieces, especially when it comes to the collaborations, and you will thank me. Although I'm sure many of you are approaching this going, you know, I've been an Apocalyptica fan for a long time. I'm sure many of you, like I said, advanced me in your years in entertainment of this group. But I've wanted to engage with them for a while. Again, as I said, they were one of the foundational presences that brought me into such a degree with the European metal, and I've been listening to them for a little while longer than some of the other ones I've consulted with you on this channel for the time since really 2022. As I've been building music out here on this channel, which has been a long time aspiration of mine, over 2023, this is going to develop quite well. And we're finally getting to Apocalyptica. I finally get to share my enjoyment with you for some of their new pieces, and of course I haven't heard any of these ones yet, so we're listening to these for the first time. And this one sounds pretty interesting. It's another collaborative work. I'll Get Through It is what it's called. I have the music video pulled up and we'll consult that in a minute alongside the song for the first time. But Franky Perez is doing the vocals here, I would imagine. And he's been a long time collaborative artist, at least especially for the last couple of years. Let me say, for example, with Shadowmaker. I love House of Chains. And Cold Blood, those songs, his voice on there is just so significant to me. I'm excited to hear him, as well as Geezer Butler. This is going to be a first-time introduction in 2 respects, not only of Apocalyptica's song here, but Geezer Butler. Surprise, surprise, I'm sure a number of you, I've never listened to anything by Black Sabbath, though I know their name is pretty legendary in the, imagine, rock and metal scene. I have not heard any of their music yet, at all. So maybe I have some time to spend, I guess, at other groups I should entertain. They're more classically revered, but this will be a first-time introduction for a number of you. I'm sure if you were wondering, maybe, what are your thoughts on Black Sabbath? Well, or it's their frontman, Geezer, I think he's the frontman, right? The bassist and the primary lyricist. Okay. If you want to know at least a taste of my feelings perhaps on Black Sabbath, you'll get that today. I can't speak to them as a group necessarily, but with Geezer Butler, you're going to get a witness of that. First-time entertainment. But with Apocalyptica and Franky Perez, long-time familiarity, I can't speak of their talents highly enough. And I'm sure I'll Get Through It will be an exquisite listen, as always, from Apocalyptica's offerings. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the song, and if you're not familiar with the way I format my coverage, if this is the first video for you in regards to my content, I do try and accommodate listener taste to the best extent that I can. And so if you'd like to read along with the lyrics of the piece, I will have those provided for you in the video, and they'll track along with the song as we navigate our way through it. All right. I'll Get Through It. Let me pull the video up and we can enjoy this for ourselves, for perhaps some of us. Or maybe for some of you it won't be the case, but for me, the first time. It's one of the softer orchestral openings. I like it. It's very soothing, a bit relaxed.
Out on my own, out of my mind, I am barely breathing.
That's beautiful.
Cold and alone, tumbling through time.
I love his vocal style. Again, Franky Perez has been a nice mainstay to have, at least over the last couple of releases.
The world that feet. But I'm gonna be fine. Don't worry about me.
And for a cathartic song like this, the strings fit so well.
I'll get through it.
It's beautifully emotional.
It's only gonna take a lifetime, but hey, I can do it.
Oh, that aggressive vibration. I just love listening to him.
Forever, and I'll get stronger. Won't be in this pain no longer. Hey, I'll get through it without you.
Wow. Sentimental. I'm sure for some this is where like the tears start flowing. It's a beautifully resonant song.
All that I had was all in my mind. Happy never after. Love left me broken.
That's exquisite writing right there. I love it. I mean, I've seen it line maybe applied other places, but it sits well here.
Alright. Don't worry about me. Hey, I'll get through it. It's only gonna take a lifetime, but hey, I can do it. It might take forever, and
That specific section of the chorus, especially with the transitions from each line, just works so well.
this pain no longer.
Again, like I said, it's that aggressive vibration on part of Franky's voice. I just love listening to it. Nice placement of a key change. Wonderful elevation of mood. Though the feeling remains consistent, it feels like a new presence is taken on into a more hopeful path. Although we could be returning. I think we are. Maybe.
But I'm gonna be fine. Don't worry about me. Hey,
Yep.
I'll get through it. It's only gonna take a lifetime, but hey, I can do it. It might take forever, and
Nice change.
I'll get stronger. Won't be in this pain no longer. Hey, I'll get through it without you.
I love strings. They're probably one of my favorite symphonic metal groups. I mean, they're not the only one. There's been plenty that I've engaged with, especially in the time since first happening upon Apocalyptica. And as I said, for my engagements with any of you for first-time listens, that I've just come to be an absolute fan of. Apocalyptica, though, was not to disrespect them in any way, but they were the foundation. They weren't the only one, to be fair, but they were a pretty dominant presence into why I jumped into the European landscape as much as I have. Because they were one of the more established groups from my familiarity. And I said, there's a couple along the lines are like this, at least in Finland. There must be some others, maybe not just in that country, but in other aspects of the European landscape. And boy, there have been plenty. As I've said many times, if you've not consulted this area of the world, then you are a metal fan. And, I say metal, and that can have a variety of preferences as well. Music is very subjective, not just in perhaps its inspiration and what it does to the individual who listens to, the lyrics, the message of the piece, as well as the tune's emotions overall. But, in preferred genre, or subgenre, I should say, within metal. Some people might prefer a more softer style, or like what this song demonstrated. Others, maybe a more hectic, frenetic energy. I tend to be more on the later. I'm much more of like an aggressive metalhead. That's what more so appeals to me generally. But I do keep an open door in a broad respect to anybody, because you never know where a song will hit, where you're like, okay, this is going to be a resonant listen for, many years to come, perhaps the remainder of my earthly life. This piece is very inspirational. It's a great sentiment that I would imagine it's a good middle ground for both those of you who like softer songs and those of you who perhaps are willing to humor them, but you prefer symphonic metal like me. It sits again, I think, in a very nice space in that respect, and it's beautifully resonant. I mean, who can't relate to this? It's a very inspirational song, motivational, especially among tragedy, and some good writing too. I mean, maybe some lines that are familiar perhaps to what some would say. Life has lost its meaning, the world that I'd be in has crumbled at my feet, but I'm going to be fine. Where was the other one? I think it was in the second verse. Love left me broken, cut my heart so deep, but I will be all right. I mean, again, very emotional lines that I think anybody could relate to. And the context will vary, I'm sure, of course. Some people might prefer to define this according to a romance or a family death or tragedy, just as examples, or a friend's death or passing or just a separation. But I do think it carries a beautiful resonance, especially coming out of the last couple of years. I think, hopeful messages like this are maybe what the world needs. And this track released in 2022, earlier on. It would have been April of last year? I'm way behind on everything. I'm trying to catch up. But I'm glad I checked this track out when I did. And I do feel, in terms of maybe a world that's, in some respects, lost its sense of love or happiness and contentment, especially amid more turbulent circumstances. Again, like I said, however we might define that. I'll get through it. I think it's a very applicable tune and quite beautiful to listen to. I think the strings are a great addition, especially with the softer, subtler mood of them. It has a presence that beautifully emboldens the catharsis of the lyrics, I think, quite well. It's a good support and integration on both counts. And Franky, as always, beautiful vocal talent to listen to. I love hearing those vibrations, as I said, especially on the transitions within the chorus. Wonderful. The carrying of those notes, he does that so well. Again, if you've never listened to APOCALYPTICA before, I highly recommend their back library, especially among collaborative works, and their instrumental ones that they do on their own are great too. But songs featuring Franky Perez, I love listening to them. Again, I cannot recommend Cold Blood and House of Chains enough. Those songs are beautiful. Maybe there's others, again, that I have not yet consulted that I will one day. But for now, those pieces I would highly recommend. And I'll probably have to go check out Black Sabbath at some point, because I have never, I mean, again, I didn't see, I was imagining maybe among the lines where other groups in past consideration, when I've covered their music, the collaborative artists have been more in a vocal role. So maybe I didn't see as much of Geezer Butler here or hear him as much because I'm just not familiar with his talents in respect to Black Sabbath. Maybe I'll go look at them at some point. We'll see. But either way, first engagement with them, I guess, and a doorway into Black Sabbath, perhaps. But APOCALYPTICA, I've loved this group for a long time, and I'm grateful to be able to finally showcase them on this channel alongside many other groups I've loved covering on this channel, and new time favorites or maybe some older ones, and APOCALYPTICA qualifies as that. What are your thoughts down below? I mean, maybe some of you, like I said, are approaching APOCALYPTICA from a position of familiarity, maybe you've entertained their music before for a number of years, or for many of us, perhaps we're approaching this piece on the same respect of not having heard it before. I'd love to hear what angle you come from down below if you wish to disclose your perspective and your overall thoughts on the song. I think it's exquisite. From APOCALYPTICA, that's a universal thing. And going forward, as I said, I've got 4 more works in total, at least at present, that I'll consult with them from now. But I'll get through it. Sits, I think, very well in terms of just being an enjoying listen and a wonderful piece of catharsis and contentment of life and a motivational, inspirational work. It's a beautiful, very eloquent piece. Has a wonderful mood to it. Sits in very well, especially with the string side. I love symphonic metal, and hearing APOCALYPTICA again, especially on new tracks and new material for me, is a fun experience. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.